and gentlemen, if I could ask you to please fill these chairs here. And with that having said, if you would please rise to the presentation of the colors and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
March, march, Fletcher, march, Elgin, out, present, hard.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms, right, march, forward, march.
How about now? There you go. Here? Oh, good. Well, welcome. I want to thank our junior ROTC students who just went down the hall, so let's give them a round. There are a lot of good programs here at the high school, and that is one that we love to talk about. Is that started with about 45 students 4 years ago, and we're up over 200 right now in that neighborhood. We actually had a bad situation where we had to turn some students down to get into that program. And so, and I know Dr. Ross, the commissioner from the Ohio Athletic Association, came down a week ago. He toured the building with me, and he asked me about our students presenting colors at the Coliseum, our district final basketball game. And talk about that. He wants them to come down and do a state basketball game at the Shopping Student Center this year. So that's awesome. So we're really happy about that. Welcome everybody, and we appreciate a wide range of folks in here tonight, and we'll try not to leave anybody out. This is a actual ribbon cutting for our total $140 million building project, which started, I'd like to say, in 2004 when the district passed a levy, but Keith Richards in the third row would probably say, no, it didn't start in 2004, did it, Keith? 2003, and a lot of planning that went on with this project. And so, as we go through tonight, a little slideshow and talk about some things, I want to ask some people to come forward and talk, and we don't want to leave anybody out, because this is a big project, and we want to make sure everybody gets recognized, and we show our appreciation, because that's what tonight's all about. What I'd do without Seth Roy. So, here's Seth and runs. We actually practiced this once last week and once today. And so, but I know how things roll in our world. You know, you go with it, and if you're good at sidestepping and sliding through, then you're good. Go ahead, Seth. So the levy was passed in 2004, 4.12 mils, raising $70 million over 30 years. State paid, which is the Ohio School Facility Commission, who partnered with us, paid 51% of the total project. We built 11 buildings, and we're about $4 million under budget. Savings plus the property sales allowed us to renovate the 12th building, the Roosevelt Middle School, into a new administration building, which we're all in over on Mount Vernon Avenue. And I will share with you next month, we'll do a ribbon cutting there. And so we're really excited about that building. And so we talk about this project, we like to share that. It'll be 11 buildings for our students. What we didn't plan on is having the resources to save a 1927 with an 85 addition on it and save that building, which was scheduled to be torn down. Because the project went so well, because a lot of you folks in here tonight, we were able to save Roosevelt Building and move our administrative offices in there, which we did, and we're in that building. We did about 2 weeks ago. It is the best professional development space that we have in the district, and probably that many districts have. And so, actually, Keith might remember or might not, Keith got us involved in a group of 6 schools called the Eastern States Consortium. And that's 6 schools east of the Mississippi River. And so there are 6 schools, 5 other schools there's one from Mississippi, New Orleans, Tennessee, Virginia, Indiana, and Newark represents Ohio. It's a pretty prestigious thing. I originally said when I take the position, I don't think that I really have time to do that. And Keith said, please just go with me once. And thank you, Keith. It's the best professional development that I go through. I know that. It's awesome. But we were standing in New Orleans, the school of New Orleans, renovated the Kmart building. And I stood there and looked at their professional development space, and I thought, wow, we need that. We need something like this. So when I got back, I talked to Dave Altapeter. We went over to Miller. We started talking about renovating Miller into a space like that. We quickly came to a decision, which I think was a good one, as a district, that we'll keep a 1927 structure, sell Miller and some other properties, and renovate that building. Neat thing about Roosevelt, top floor, ESC has half of it and LACA has the other half. So we generated $100,000 of rental income for the district and improved our space and theirs. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. So not 11 buildings, 12 buildings. This time, I'm going to have, if you're a former board member or a board member right now, would you please stand and come forward? I want all, that's everybody, Mr. Kelly, nudging Mayor Bob. If you would just come stand in front of the ribbon here. I want you to hold your applause till the end, but I'm actually going to give a microphone. They can tell you who they are and what years they served on the board. And when we get down to Bev, Bev's going to say a few remarks. But you're looking here at a group of people that I'm sure are very, very proud tonight. They have a lot of work on this project, stepping forward and educating the community and getting a bond issue passed, and planning buildings and going through all this. And I'll introduce some people from the OSFC, but I'll tell you, $140 million building project is no small project. I'll share that with you. Every community needs good leaders. We appreciate your leadership and you stepping forward to be leaders.
I'm Kurt Hurd, and I came on the board in 2011, actually beginning in 2012. I'm happy to be on the board, but I'm most proud that I'm a Newark High School graduate.
Pat Kelly, I was on the board in 1995 to 2003.
Bob Hillman, I was on the board from 2004 through 2011.
Mark Christenberry, 2008 to 2012.
My name is Molly Ingold, and I served from 2004 through 2011.
My name is Tim Carr. I served for 1 year through 2009, and then also came back on the board in 2012.
Tom Blind, I served for 3 years from 07 to 09, and then came back beginning of 2012.
Good evening, my name is Dan Bybee, and I came on the board in 2009.
Jeremy Blake served 1999 to 2005, and just glad to come back to this dream that is alive, and was board president from 2004 to 2005 when we went through this bond issue campaign and became the superintendent. It's just, just walking in here is just it's just a great feeling. I mean, it's just a really, really humbling feeling that once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat. So proud to be back home.
I'm Bev Nickham. I've been on the board since 2010. presentation to make on behalf of Representative Jay Heidinger. It's a proclamation. Under the sponsorship of Representative Jay Heidinger, House District 71, on behalf of the members of the House of Representatives of the 130th General Assembly of Ohio, we are pleased to extend special recognition to Newark High School on the dedication and ribbon cutting of its newly renovated facility. Celebration of this special event is a fitting tribute to Newark High School, for since its inception, it has played a vital role in preparing countless people to meet the challenges of the future. Throughout its history, the school's faculty and administrators have given willingly of their time, energy, and abilities far beyond what was required or expected. And we are certain that in the years to come, these fine educators will continue to help students become capable, well-rounded individuals. Education is vital to our nation's economic and social well-being, and as the need for global learning and understanding increases, so do the demands placed upon our system of education. Over the years, Newark High School has consistently and effectively met these demands, and as they take part in this celebration, the school's students, staff, and alumni can be justly proud of this fine institution. Thus, with great satisfaction, we congratulate Newark High School on its renovation and extend best wishes for the future. Signed, William Batchelder, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and Jay Heidinger, Representative, House District 71. Mr. Fuller, if you would accept this proclamation. The biggest thing I have to say is thank you to so many people. I kind of feel like Willie Henderson at his graduation speech when he did his list of thank yous, because there are so many people to thank. And it starts with the community of Newark. And one of the things that I try to share with students when I talk, I do sometimes talk to like 4th and 5th graders and middle school students, the thing that I try to impart to them is how many adults care for them. Because some of these students feel like no one cares, but I try to impart. And when you have a project like this high school or the entire district project, it is no exaggeration to say thousands of people worked on this for students. And some of these students, like my son was in kindergarten when this started. You know, they were kids that weren't even born when their elementary school, started to take shape and this bond was passed. And so it's just an incredible gift that the community has given our students. And I always point to instances of this to show with our children that your community really does care about you. And so I thank the community for voting and passing this money and giving us this opportunity. I thank everyone that worked on these projects and with an incredible safety record. I mean, who would have thought we'd do a $140 million project and didn't send anyone to the hospital? Things like that. So I thank all the thousands of people that worked on these buildings and worked safely. I thank the students and the staff whose lives were incredibly interrupted. I mean, it was no fun to move to another building while your building was being renovated or built, or to have a high school built in the middle of your high school. And everyone took it and accepted the challenge and kept their eye on the prize, and look at the beautiful buildings we have now. And I'm thankful that we have this point of pride and this capstone to our project. And it's amazing to see older alumni see the commons area and take a tour of the high school and just be amazed by it. My grandfather graduated from Newark in 1940. He didn't even attend high school here where the high school is. He graduated at West Main, but still he's incredibly proud of this building and this building that we have for our community now. And so I just want to thank everyone, and I don't know, it would take hours to list everyone, but thank you all so much for being here tonight, and thank you for this gift for our students. And the other thing I tell our students, one is that there's thousands of people in this community that care about you, and the other one is that there are tools and resources here at Newark City Schools, but it's up to you to use those tools. And so I always challenge them to take the buildings we've given you, take the technology we've given you, and do something for yourself. Challenge yourself and take advantage of those opportunities. But thank you everyone for being here tonight and helping
thank you again to all current and former board members. We really appreciate your leadership. Okay, this time I'm going to recognize some of the partners that we had in this project, and I'm going to ask the folks from Resource to come up front and stand in front of the ribbon, please. I know you thought you wouldn't be on TV, or thought you'd be sitting back at those tables, buying cookies and punch. Laura, come on. Handsome group of fellows. Isn't it? Yeah. Good guys. This is a small part of who took care of us on this project. And occasionally, Andy will ask me, will you write a letter of recommendation to this district or another district? And without hesitation, I hop all over it because I'm really, really proud of what they've accomplished. And we couldn't have had a better partner looking after us than Resource. And I mean that. And so I'm going to have these fellows introduce themselves, give them a little mic time, look in the eye, tell them who you are. And then if Bob or Andy might tell a little bit about what this company did, what Resource did for the Newark community, I appreciate it.
My name is Corey Huff. I'm a project engineer for Resource. I came on around 2010, and I've been working over here since.
Eric Mock, site superintendent on the high school project.
Hi, Bob Hart, project director with Resource, and I actually go back to the very beginning. Was it 2003 or 2004 when we started?
Andy Rogers, project manager, came on board around 2007, and it's just been an honor to work with everybody out here for this long year.
Scott Lewis.
Resource International site superintendent, and I came on in 2007.
Tell a little bit about it.
Sure. This job, I remember vividly the day we found out we'd been hired by Keith. I was talking to Keith on my phone. It was 2003, and it was on a Monday morning, and I was staring out my kitchen window, and I called Keith basically to say, what more can we do to try to get onto this job, because it means so much to us. And Keith said, you know, it's that kind of enthusiasm is why we decided to hire you. And that was the single best professional day of my life. You know, it was the best thing that we'd accomplished, and I wish I knew way back then how well things would go over the next decade. This job's gone as well as we could have ever hoped. We've worked with fantastic people, board members and administration. You know, it's kind of nice to see Jeremy go back way to the beginning as well, but this job has just done great. We couldn't have done it without you know, our partnerships with everybody here, with the design team, with our staff, and you know, we've really enjoyed being a part of this community. Even though we're not leaving the community, we're going to keep our office open. You know, it's certainly kind of a sad day as well when, you know, we've still got, you know, a few things to wrap up around here, but, you know, work with people for so long that when it's finally time to kind of close out the project and move on, it's a great day, but it's also a sad day because we've really enjoyed this experience and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Again, I couldn't tell you how to install a roof or pick a level out of it. I'm just not construction minded, but that's why we hired Resource, and I can tell you, they watched this project and made sure that we got quality materials and buildings, and that was just really great to see. And every now and then they had to get a little fired up with some people for us, and so that's nice to have too. But again, thank you guys for all you did. You did a wonderful job. Leggett and Kingscott, how about front and center in front of the. So I didn't tell you guys you're going to have to do this tonight, so that you would come.
Let Charles wrote an email.
Yeah. Okay.
How you doing? I'm Paul Garland. I'm the project architect, design architect for the high school. I was brought on board with Leggett Kingscott in 2008 specifically to work on the high school.
My name is Dennis Pavin. I'm a project architect for Leggett & Kingscott, and as I'm sitting here staying at my family, realizing when I started with the newer project, I wasn't married yet. So, this is quite an experience to think about everything we've been through.
A third key member couldn't make it here tonight. It's Charles Nelson, who's been with Leggett King Scott since the inception and the project. And luckily, he emailed me and today, so I'm pretty much just going to read from his email what he would like to say. But before the bond passed in 2004, the planning really began for the high school project and the district, and now it's a reality. Leggett King Scott was beyond excited to be selected by New York City Schools as their architect for the last 10 years, and it's been a personal privilege and honor of Charles and our team to be involved in such a project from the beginning through its completion. This was the largest and most complex project of my career, and I was very proud of what New York City Schools, Resource International, and JBA and Leggett King Scott has accomplished. Through the guidance of the district and the community, the new and remodeled schools will serve to inspire students and staff of Newark High School for many generations. So from all of us, Leggett King Scott, we say thank you.
Is it still on? That must have been JVA, right? Okay. Good time for you to come up. How about JVA folks? Tom Nugent, Mark Keith.
Tom Nugent, I'm the president of JBA Architects, the local architectural firm that partnered with Leggett King Scott, and 1970 New York High School alumni.
Punch list. Mark Keith, JBA. I say it's 2004 or 5 was Carson. So I've been pretty much on all the projects, all the 2 or 3 little small ones we stuck in, and I too now have a freshman at this school, so I'm feeling old.
JBA's been in Newark for a long, long time. We are just so pleased to have been part of this year. My first grade class was in the new John Clem School. It was finished in 1958. I think that was the last major building program maybe that the New York City schools had at that time. So we are 40-some years later. And just over the last 10 years, I see a whole lot more gray hair than we did 10 years ago, except for Keith. And we're just thankful to be a part of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Okay, and obviously, you know that we have local contractors in here tonight. I do want to point out that JVA is a local contractor located on Sharon Valley. I almost said Spring Valley. Located on Sharon Valley Road, causing all that confusion in the morning at the stop sign right up from you. Correct. But it is kind of neat, and I will point out everybody at JVA did a fantastic job for us. But it is really neat to have somebody like Mark Keith, who has students in the district that kept a watchful eye, and Mark knows that some of these people are going to take off and head back towards Columbus, and you're going to be here if something goes wrong, correct? And so, but we appreciate that. We were so thrilled that with the work that they've done for us, that they also did the Roosevelt project, which is a part of the OSFC. So we really appreciate what JBA has done for our building process. Robertson Construction. John Paul, I saw you. Would you like to come up? Or is who else? If you're from Robertson, come on up. All of you. Oh, the boss is sitting back here. That's why he didn't want to pop up. Okay, I see now. I didn't see Chris. Obviously, I think you know that on a process of bidding, we can't select who constructs our buildings and it's a bidding process. So, but I can tell you, there were certainly a lot of smiles in the room when somebody was low bidder. And if they were from Newark, we got real excited about that. And so, Christian, you want to?
I'm Christian Robertson. I'm a 1984 graduate. I'm the fourth of 5 boys that came through here from 1970 to 1986, and the president of Robertson Construction.
John Paul, site superintendent. I worked on Heritage Middle School, then I came to Newark High School, then went over to Roosevelt.
I'm Ben Posey. I've worked on 3 of the buildings in the district, the high school being almost the last, but Roosevelt, we've been working over there and have been really enjoying the time with the district that we've had.
As he said, we have to public bid these jobs, so it's it's kind of luck of the draw. But we were fortunate to get of the 12 projects that he referred to, we were successful on 6, and then sprinkled in a couple of the Mitchell Auxiliary Gym and the Evans Track Facility. So 8 of 14 projects or so we were involved with.
And also, they'll be invited back next month over to Roosevelt as they did that project. Matt, you want to stand up too? I don't know why you didn't come up, but Matt Paul here. Let's give Matt a hand. Big young man. Claggett and Sons. Anybody here from Claggett tonight? Well, I'll represent them. Again, we estimate, not exact, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 74% or so of our projects stayed local. And so when you're talking about $136 million going out into the community, that's huge. And a lot of that stayed local. And so again, we don't really control that bidding procedure. And our hand was not involved in that. But when you stay local, and obviously Robertson and Claggett, from a general contracting standpoint, just did a wonderful job for us, and it was nice to have some local groups. How about Guttridge Plumbing? Right here from Guttridge. Okay. Local group, Watson, Houston. Anybody else that we left off that list? If you're with a group, local group, and did some work on our projects, please stand up and be recognized. Well, let's recognize these local contractors. Okay, obviously, we've talked about the commitment from our community to give our students and staff and our community, because these are community buildings, wonderful buildings to come into. And we talk a lot here in our district about, we're all about attitude and we're all about environment. And we have positive attitudes about what we're doing and what we're achieving, and our environment is wonderful. And we know that a building doesn't make a district, but it sure does mean a whole lot when our students come into modern facilities and our staff can do some things with modern education and come into clean atmospheres and have a positive attitude. Our student achievement is showing that. And so not only did the district say, hey, let's take advantage of this 50% from the state of Ohio to build buildings, but I think as a district, we're proving that it does make a difference. Our student achievement is backing that up. I see Mayor Hall in the back. Would you please stand up? And anybody else from a local government agency. No wonder. Oh yeah, we got some. Anybody else? Let's give them a hand. Because I don't have to tell you, we've had to work hard with the city of Newark to, when you're going in and tying into sewer and water and drainage and all those type of things, and so we appreciate their effort. Also, before we leave the political part of it, I know we have somebody here from Mr. T. Berry's office. Would you please stand up, young lady? Can you tell us who you are?
Pamela Hedrick.
And thank you for coming. I know we've already read the proclamation from Jay Hottinger. Is there anybody else from a governmental agency that I forgot? Okay. Also, now, if you're a community member and just came tonight to say, hey, this is great, please stand up and recognize our community. I see some back here, don't be shy. Everybody stand up, please. I know you're proud of these buildings. Absolutely. Again, you know, the commitment on the bond issue that our community made was tremendous, and we appreciate that. Okay, we didn't do a picture of the levy committee, and I did not even want to start by saying, here's who was on the levy committee, because you know what happens there. But I'm going to ask you, if you were on the levy committee, to please stand up. Let's give them a hand. Thank you very, very much. That was, I'm sure, a difficult process, and selling, because you didn't have something to say, here's what it is. Now we can say, here's what we have, thanks to your hard work. So thank you. Naming committee. Who was on the naming committee of buildings? Please stand up. Just one fellow in the back stood right up there, Mr. Hall. Well, no, one of our students stood up, so that was pretty impressive. There was nobody on there. Oh, wow. Keith, you remember on the naming committee? We just pulled them out of the hat and said, this is what we will, anyone.
There was names.
Yeah,
and there was committee.
sure. Yeah, thanks. Newark City School staff, please stand and be recognized. Staff members. Remain standing for a second, please. I want to share with you how it was this difficult process for many people, but you see a lot of people standing that moved their students out of one building and back into another facility and opened that up. And I'm just going to tell you, we put the NCS on our chest, and we're really proud of what we do and who we are, and very thankful that we have the opportunity to work with our students and staff here. I guess, can you all turn around and look outside, please? Somebody's going to take a picture there. Thank you. And, okay, you can have a seat, please. Again, great staff, great group of people. Before we leave the staff, Dave Altepeter, would you please come forward? Yeah. Larry here, Dave? I'll ask you to stand in the middle out here, Dave. Dave doesn't like to do this. I can tell you that, but I know that 5 years ago, I was really excited to get the opportunity to be superintendent of the Newark City Schools. And I asked Mrs. Ingold and one night, Mr. Christian Berry and Mr. Carr and Mr. Blind and Mr. Handelman, hey, I know, this is my 14th year as a superintendent. I had 9 years prior to coming here. I think I thought I had a good idea of how to, he said, well, what are you looking for here at Newark? What do you really need me to focus on early? And Molly said, you need to carry this project home in good shape for us. And that's a big challenge, a big project. And I quickly learned that it was going to be an easy process for me because of this young man standing up here. And I want to share with our community that Dave Altepeter and his staff, Larry Williams isn't here, but I wish Larry were because he needs to be recognized. And I told Larry, I want you, he usually now at this stage of the game goes down a hallway and acts like he's fixing something when I try to introduce him. And Dave usually disappears with him. That's probably why Larry didn't come tonight, I would imagine. However, I want to share these two gentlemen are worth their weight in gold in this district. They have dedicated themselves to the building project, educated themselves through the process, and have great knowledge of what we should get and how we should get it. And I remember a day right down over the hill over here, I was about ready to say something, and Dave showed up on something with our block issue, and I knew that, hey, I can be the nice guy. Dave will make sure we get what we're supposed to get. Remember that, Dave? Yeah, he remembers that. That's why it looks so nice on the outside of here. But I want to recognize Dave Altapeter for his work on the project. Also, another fellow I'm going to have stand up is Jeff Anderson, our treasurer. Jeff, would you please stand up? And Julie Taylor. I saw Julie walk in here. You can't see. Come on up here, Julie. Will you come up front, please? With Jeff, these are school buildings. They're made for kids. Bring them on up. How you doing, buddy? Good. Hey, Julie, you guys introduce yourself. Tell me who you are.
Julie Taylor. I was the previous treasurer. I don't remember when I came, but I left in 2009.
I'm Jeff Anderson. I came in 2009, and I intend to stay here for the next 10 to 15 years, finish my career here, if you all will have me.
Again, another part of two people that paid the bills and added on to their work as treasurers. And I can tell you, I wasn't here when Julie was here, but I'm sure she was the same way. Mr. Anderson won't pay you until he's satisfied. We're satisfied with the work. Isn't that right, Jeff?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So in any event, thank you for that. If you were on a moving staff here, do you plan stand up, please? And I didn't send something out there, but I want to share. As we move from building to building, some buildings moved out of the building, and I'll give you an example. Wilson, John Davis took his crew over to Roosevelt, and they had to have a moving crew there, moving back in. When the neighbors had her crew over there, and I know everybody else moved around, I can't tell you how valuable our moving crew was in this district. I saw it firsthand this summer. They worked their tail off, saved the district money. We were able to keep them employed over the summertime, so it was a win-win for both groups. But let's give them a hand. So, and before we go any further, I want Stacy Thomas, please, to come up front and tell everybody who you are, where you're from.
I'm Stacy Thomas. I'm project manager from the High School Facilities Commission, also known as the High Facilities Construction Commission. And I've been with them for September 11th will be 13 years with the district or with OSFC, and I started out on this project once you guys started into your classroom facilities assistance program projects, and have been here ever since. And it's been a true pleasure working with this district. I've worked with probably 40 districts so far, and working with Newark and Resource International and Leggett has been. I wrote to Crystal the other day in an email. Crystal Cannon from OSFC is here also, and I wrote her that, you know, if I have to put something in the book for this one, this is one that is a true success. Being able to give back to a district $4 million on a project, and I don't think we had a single claim on the project or any of the projects. And for a project to go that many years, 10 years without a claim, and just extremely successful. The community should be very proud of your leaders, because I don't always get to work with districts that have leaders that are fiscally responsible and truly thinking of the kids and what's best for the kids. And from, you know, the beginning, that's what it was. I started out with Keith Richards and Julie Taylor on the project when I first started here on these projects, and then moved to Doug and Jeff and Dave Altapeter. And your board is very intelligent for the fact that they know that they needed to hire somebody that knew how to operate HVAC controls and take care of the buildings. have that in Larry and also in Dave. So again, it's been a true pleasure working with this district and Resource International. Couldn't have done it without, especially Resource. They were my right hand. And so I appreciate everything everybody's done to help out.
I'll just tell you, don't let Stacy fool you, she's a bulldog. Isn't that right? She'll make sure that people answer the bell and do what they're told to do, and it truly is a partnership with the state of Ohio, the School Facilities Commission, and Resource, and Leggett, King Scott, JBA, and everybody else who worked on our project. So we really appreciate everything that you've done, Stacy. Okay, at this time, Seth Roy chose this picture from whatever, but we certainly wouldn't want to go through tonight without recognizing Keith and what he's done for the district and this project. And, you know, I look at this, so I did the easy part. Came in and held on and had a great experience, and that Keith did the hard part. And I would tell you that following Keith as superintendent, I really appreciate Keith. Is always there, takes my phone calls, emails, offers suggestions, and has been a good friend to the district after he left. And and Keith and I would probably share. Sometimes get pretty lonely being a superintendent, so you need somebody to call. And Keith, I appreciate our friendship and everything that you've done for us even after you left here. And why don't you come on up and let's thank Keith.
It's kind of hard to think about the fact that last month we celebrated the 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream. And today we celebrate the fact that 10 years ago, Newark City Schools had a dream. And Jeremy, I think it was about 65 people throughout the community that came together and committed to working toward this project back in 2003. That's why it is 10 years. My math's okay. I can graduate. And those 65 people committed to meeting every Wednesday for 13 weeks. And they didn't always agree. They came from different perspectives, different ideas. They had different thoughts about whether or not the high school in this project ought to be a 10 through 12 or a 9 through 12, whether we ought to keep middle schools or have junior highs, whether or not they wanted an intermediate school. I remember one of the citizens absolutely wanted a separate 9th grade building, and she carried that through until the rest of the group said, no, we aren't going to do that. And so it took a lot of work to get to the point that we did before we put the issue on the ballot. And that's the important thing. Christian, I can remember back in 2003, when we started talking about this, we called all the local vendors together. And I remember you saying, Mr. Richards, if you bid this as one big project, I don't have a chance. But if you'll separate this out and give us a chance, the local people will make sure you get quality projects. And similar to what was mentioned a minute ago, we have to make sure that the taxpayers get the best bang for the buck. So my response was, Christian, how do I make sure that it's the best deal? He said, bid it both ways. And if we aren't the best, then we don't get it. And we did, and they got it. We met with the business community, and the business leaders bought in very early on the fact that there was a report done for the University of Cincinnati, for the Cincinnati public school system, that 96 cents on the dollar of their project would come right back into the community. And we presented that report, and people said, you know, I think that's a possibility here in Newark. We may get more money back than we pay locally. Thank God for the state of Ohio coming in at 51% to help us do that. And as Doug's mentioned, we can track and document 74 cents on the dollar that came back out of this bond issue. So more than what the local taxpayers paid for the project came back into Licking County to Licking County residents through payroll. And that's not counting all the gasoline, the meals, the vendors and so forth, and all the things, the motels, because of some of the workers that came in from out of state. But we did it. We met with Bowerston Shale, just the opposite, and they were at that meeting, and they said, Mr. Richards, we want to do your project, But if we have 11 or 12 different projects, we only may get 3 or 4 of them. But if you'll bid that all as one, we promise you, we will give you the best bid, and locally, it will come back here. So again, we listened to the local business leaders, and we did that. And that's why in a lot of the buildings, if you haven't gone through to enjoy all of them, you will see those beautiful brick sculptures that Bowerson Shale donated for free to the district as a thank you, because we listened to them, and they got that part of the project. And so this is truly a community celebration. And I think the other thing, Pat, we've talked about this how many times back when I came in. John Kennedy once said, we don't seek to find the blame of the past, but to accept our responsibility for the future. And the community at that point in time said, we got enough problems going on. We don't need to be pointing fingers. We don't need to be saying who messed up or who didn't. We need to talk about where we're going tomorrow. And as a result, passed the bond issue the first time out. Very first time. We had a lot of people involved. Many of you are sitting in this room. This is not one person. This isn't Keith Richards. This isn't the Board of Education project. This was the Newark Community Project. And all I can say is, try not to get emotional, that 40 years in this business, I retired in 2009. Actually, yeah, 2009, yeah, that would be. I did retire in 2009 from here. Retired in 1999 from Old Pages Schools and thought my career was over. And Pat, Tom Hall and Christy Williams met with me and said, hey, we want you to do a 1-year interim. And I remember vividly, Jeremy had an issue that he had just lost, and the board had voted against what he wanted, and the issue is irrelevant. And Jeremy came out and in the paper said, as a board member, majority rules, it's time to move on. And I said, that's a Board of Education I can work with. Those people understand how districts are run and how it should be. So I took the 1-year job, turned into 7. I think I have about the same amount of gray hair that I had back then, but I had maybe a little bit less of it. But this is a true celebration for the entire community. I thank you for letting me be a part of it. I truly do, with all my heart. I saved the very best for last. You'll always be in my heart. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you coming back for our ribbon cuttings. I think you've been back for pretty much every ribbon cutting we've had, so thank you for your commitment and your time. Now we kind of like just to go through some areas where we built the buildings. Carson Field looks a little different now. I put this slide here, I asked Seth to grab me a slide of the redistricting. You can see all the folks in there, but it looks like they're coloring some pictures. I will tell you that last spring, we made a decision that we had to alter our makeup of a school or so, and that was Johnny Clem. And that's always tough to do because students get comfortable in a building and don't like to do that. And every August, I get requests to move from building to building to building. Well, it's time now to say, I really can't do that, because my job is to make sure that our resources are used wisely and efficiently. And we're not going to put enough students in where we had to hire another teacher in that building. And so our buildings now, but we were sitting there last spring one day, and I said, you know what? The redistricting committee in this district did one heck of a job that we waited till 2013 to have to make an adjustment in the plan. And so if you were on that committee, would you please stand and be recognized? Let's give them a hand. I think you can look back and see all that work you did. The boundaries were drawn up pretty doggone good. And I say that the only thing that probably stumbled you was a housing market in the Hillview area that maybe caused a shift a little bit. So you might have even gotten a few more years out of your work. So thank you for what you did. Groundbreaking. I'm sure those students now they're breaking ground in Cherry Valley. There we go, right there, upgrading classrooms. And I think he can, Mr. Caldwell's sitting back here. How about standing up and be recognized? I'm going to share with you. He retired, and we got him back this year at our science. Let's recognize him. Good man. Welcome back. I don't think If you go down the hallway, first room on the right, first science room on the right, you'll be holding something up like that again. Right now, are you? Probably not. Well, maybe you are after you've had them for a week, but and we thought you'd enjoy that. There's Larry Williams. Obviously, this was upgrading a lot of electrical work for the district. 12 buildings in 9 years, and I'll ask, as we go through these, we'll go through these fairly quickly, and I'm just going to ask our principals in these buildings to stand up, because as we go through here, Sarah, would you please be the first one to stand up? As we go through here, I'm going to point out, this was no easy task for a principal in a building, to open a building and new students and that, and I would offer, if you want to go through any of our buildings at any time, you contact these people that are standing as they're building. So we built Carson in the fall of 2007, Liberty Middle School, fall of 2007, Hillview, 2007. Barbara, you stand up for that one since Peg's at a, where's Barbara at? Oh, Barbara, okay. Hillview, Legend, Ellen's standing here, 2008, Cherry Valley, 2008. Mindy, you stand up on this one. Oh, there you are, there you have it. Okay, Chet's at a PTO meeting. Wilson Middle School, John Davis. Ben Franklin, Dina Cable. Heritage Middle School, Tom Serino. Oh, Tom just left. Lake Rapal tonight. Just saw him going out. John Clem, Linda Neighbors. McGuffey, Martha Harmon. Newark High School, Mark Fullen and his administrative staff, please stand. And then, as we'll cut ribbon, doesn't that look like a school instead of an office building? We like that, so we're very proud of this building here, and very proud of all our buildings. This building, as I mentioned before, is a product of the other 11, so that's really neat. And as Mark sat down, before we move away from the buildings, and I want to compliment Mark and his staff, not just administrative staff, the teachers, the support staff, the two gentlemen from Resource. Raise your hands back there to be recognized again. Right there, Scott, Eric, raise your hand there. You spent a lot of time up here at the high school. And we're really proud of this. Building a $40 million building with 1,500 students on site. Yes, the tunnels still exist. Am I right, fellas? It didn't collapse yet, correct? And it took me about 2 months in the district to bite on the tunnel thing, that they wanted me to go down and show me the tunnels, but I didn't believe they were there. But they're there, and they're still here, right below us here. So we preserved as much as we could. Seth, go back a second. And well, it's kind of hard to see now, but you just look out to your left there. You'll see, try to preserve a lot of the outside feel of the building. But it's made a huge difference for our environment at the high school to have our students under one roof here instead of out and about walking around in today's world. So, and those young ladies and young men that just stood up recognizing our buildings. Again, I'm going to mention to you, our student achievement, 23 or 24 indicators on the report card. Our value added is moving forward. Our graduation rate has climbed about 14 or 15% in the last 5 years. And so, yes, exactly. So we're for a lot of people. My point is that even building these buildings, our product has gotten better. And so we're proud of that. And we want to mention that. So that is that. Okay. And again, thank you for coming, but more importantly, thank you, everybody in this room, for the partnership that we had. It was a team effort, and if everybody didn't understand that, then something would fall apart. And so every now and then, somebody would remind us we're a team. We've got to get through these little bumps that you run into here, and I'm proud to say we did. And everybody should look around and shake each other's hand tonight and celebrate what we've accomplished in the district with the building project. And I share you, as I like to, as we talk about our renewal levy in November, and it is a renewal of 2009 money that for you board members and you community members, when that was passed in 2009, we didn't think that we'd be talking about a renewal as a district at that time. We thought we'd be talking about new money. And so I hop on what Dan Bybee talks about. You know, a lot of people say to me, hey, you always say it's a great time to be a cat. It is a great time to be a cat. But I'm talking about we need to renew our momentum in this district in November. We need your support. And so our student achievements up, our financial forecast is in the black for 5 years. We've completed the building project under budget, and we have a lot to be thankful for in this district. And so we're really proud of that. So if we could, let's get somebody from each organization up front, and we're going to cut this ribbon and move forward. Don't be afraid of it.
I know, you want to take this one?
All right, now here, let's all. Please. Yeah. Everybody get a hand on the, I'm not cutting. Okay. I'm gonna wait till the lights come on. Yeah. There we go. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay. This time I'm gonna, you can go through the building if you'd like. Please feel free to go through the building. Also, and we thank Dora. Where's Dora at? Oh, Dora from Resource over here. Gemma from the Newark City Schools. We stole her from Resource. Sorry, guys. Did a great job. There were refreshments in the back. And so enjoy yourself. Please feel free to go through. Anybody up here will take you through. Mark and my staff are available. Does anybody else want to say anything? I'm going to open the floor up before we go. Got 5 minutes? Okay, thank you.